Hey, welcome back to Crimes and Closets. This is Beth in my closet in North Carolina.
And this is Christy in my closet in St. Louis.
Happy Monday.
Yeah. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. Happy March. I'm getting ready to go on spring break. I don't even know if you know that. Oh, you know that.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm so excited about it. I know. Yay.
I was just texting. Sorry, I don't know where that came from, that little frog in my throat. I was just texting with my mother-in-law about all of the food, like, because she's going to go shopping and, like, kind of meal prep so that we don't really have to do a whole lot while we're out there.
That's nice.
And I'm like, man, I'm going to gain every pound I've lost back.
No, you're not. No, you're not. You guys will be out there. Are you going to swim? It's probably too cold, right?
Well, typically it is not cold out there, but it is going to be chilly while we're there. So it's like we chose the week that it was going to, like, cool down for a week.
Yeah.
So we do have a pool, and it's heated, and there will be, like, as of right now, a nice day. That would be nice.
Oh, nice day.
But I'm hoping that there's still time to change that.
It'll change, yeah. I feel like weather changes every, like, 15 hours or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I just have to tell you this, like, super creepy thing that just happened to me. Literally just happened.
Mm-hmm.
So I texted you, I'm home from the gym, I'm ready when you are, whatever. I'm, like, piddling around the house. I take the trash out. I go to take the trash out. Okay, so we have a crawl space underneath our house. Mm-hmm. You know, like, you know how the houses are here. Mm-hmm. And there's, like, little vents underneath, you know, to, like, vent the crawl space or whatever. And there's one right at the bottom of my deck. So right as you're walking down, there's, like, a little vent right there. So I'm taking the trash out, and no joke, I hear this, like, clanging noise from underneath the freaking house. There's nothing under there. Like, I mean, you can walk around. Mm-hmm. Well, I could walk around. My 5'2" can walk around in parts of it. But I keep, like, sleds and pool floats in the summer that I don't want to deflate, so I just throw them under there or whatever. It was loud. Like, I will send you my Ring video of me walking out there because I stopped what I was doing, turned around, and literally went, hello? Like, that's how loud it was. I was like, that's a person. So I don't know if you've seen, but not too long ago, there was these articles about these homeless people who have been living under people's houses without them knowing. So
like in your area or just in general?
Yes, in my area. Right. So they're living under houses, which, listen, it's good thinking. Mm-hmm. But people had no idea. And there's been like 5.
I mean, that's kind of not impressive, but like interesting because so many people have these Ring cameras. So you think they would be caught on them at some point, like crawling out or coming out?
Not on mine, because think about it. So my door to my, listen, I've brainstormed this in the last 15 minutes. I'm so freaked out. I'm like convinced because it was loud and it was like metal, like clanging. It wasn't just like a scuffling noise. It was like something large clanging under in my house, to the point that I immediately went to like, that was a person. Hello? And then nothing. And it's silent after that. And my husband's not here right now.
Did you look under there?
No, I'm hiding in my closet.
Oh.
Until my husband gets home and can take like a bat or something and look. I'm scared. I'm like freaked out that there's somebody under my house. When
does he come home? Is he out of town or he's just gone for the day?
No, he's not out of town. He's home. I called him. I immediately called. Literally, I heard the noise. I said hello, put the trash in the trash can, and picked my phone up, but he didn't answer. So I'm telling you. It's just happened. I'm not kidding. I'm so freaked out. Like right now, somebody could be under my house living there. Mm-hmm. But so where the entrance to my crawl space is, you could get there, I feel like. If you knew where my cameras were, I'm going to put a camera there. That's what I'm doing today.
Yeah. I would.
I know. I'm so freaked out. Anyway.
Putting cameras everywhere.
And you know what's funny? We're going to have to tell people now. Because they're going to be so worried about me.
Yeah, you're going to have to. Yeah, people are going to be like, is Beth okay?
I'm going to be okay. Don't worry about me. It's going to be fine. My husband's really big. But anyway, that just happened. That's my news.
Goodness gracious.
Hiding in my closet.
No kidding. Man, I would want to know, like, what's under there?
I think I'm a flight. When it's fight or flight, I'm like,
well, I think I am too.
Myself inside. I'm not looking under there by myself.
I am too, because I used to do this when I was little, and I literally did this last week when Emery was out of town. I was in my basement because I was checking I have to check all the doors when he's out of town, because sometimes, like,
we've talked about this before.
My kids will let the dog out in the basement door because that's inside the gate, because they don't want her to run away, but they won't lock it. So then it's like, if I think that, did somebody do that today, and I think it's unlocked, I have to go and check, even though I'm like, no, I don't think anybody went down there, but anyways, I have to go down. So I go down there and check. I'm just walking around, I'm checking all the windows. And then I come upstairs, and I accidentally I usually leave the light on. That's at the top of the stairs.
Okay. I know it.
I usually leave it on, and then I shut it off when I get to the top. Well, I shut all the lights off, so everything was dark. And I started going up, and I ran. I started to run, because I'm always convinced that in the dark, something is after me. So I literally ran up the stairs all the way up to my room and jumped in my bed, because also something's probably underneath my bed. So there you have it. I'm still 10 years old when it comes to being in the dark by myself.
100%. I am with you. This is why we do what we do, because we are like hyper vigilant, scaredy cats.
Mm-hmm. Also why we need to stop.
Yes. Yeah. Well, speaking of, this is my last case that I'm doing. So we don't know what we're doing for our very last episode on the 31st. You guys
the last individual.
Yeah, the last that I'm like researching by myself. So I have it for you if you're ready.
Yep.
Okay, let's do it. So because this is my last case, I decided that I would go back to my roots. So we are doing a case from very near where I grew up in Huntington, West Virginia.
Oh, cool.
So I grew up right outside of it in a little town called it's a village called Barbersville. Like 15 minutes. But anyway, right outside. But I went to college. What?
Sorry. Now that you've mentioning like West Virginia, Emery, every time we watch the show The Kitchen and a lot of cooking shows, and there's a girl on there who's from Huntington.
Oh,
West
really?
Virginia. And Emery's like, I wonder if Beth knows her. I'm like,
I might know her. What's her name? Do you know?
I can't remember. I'll look it up and then I'll ask you later. Go.
Okay. So I spent a lot of time in Huntington because I went to college there. I worked in Huntington. I went out in Huntington. There was nothing in my little town. I met my husband there. So I did a lot in Huntington.
Right.
And we've done a Huntington case before. Leah Hickman.
Yes.
Happened in Huntington. So I thought for my last case that we would go back there. And because like 5 people suggested this case to me personally.
Oh, I was going to say, did anybody suggest it to you?
Yes, so many people. So like Candace suggested it. I have a friend here, Lindsay, who went to school in Huntington. She suggested it. One of our listeners wrote in, Leah. Leah M. She wrote in and suggested this to both of us. My sister has suggested, it's just like a ton of people. So I'm like, we need to get it in. So the reason that I haven't done it before now, because it has been on my list for a while, is because there's very little information on it. So it's a shorter, as far as the case goes, it's like a shorter episode, but it's really sad and tragic and it's unsolved.
Oh, okay.
So I wanted to like get exposure for the victims and as my like last hoorah. So the case is known in the media as the West Virginia Prom Night Murders. But I think that's a really inaccurate description of it.
Oh, okay.
And I'll tell you why. So I'm not going to call it that. I'm going to call it the Huntington Murders because we do what we want. So I just don't like that name. Okay, so I want to take a minute to talk about the culture of the city of Huntington because I don't think that you even know this. So Huntington has a population of like 376,000 people. So it's big. Bigger. One of the larger cities in West Virginia. It's a college town. Mm-hmm. Like I mentioned, I went to college there. So did Wes. Mm-hmm. Marshall University. And it's also a river town. So it's on the water. Mm-hmm. And it has a lot of labor jobs.
Okay.
So because I'm trying to just like be so nice about this, but like the population of West Virginia, I mean, come on, it has a reputation. It's not super educated, blue collar jobs for the most part, a lot of physical labor. My dad actually worked in a plant like his whole life. He worked in a plant that manufactured nickel and retired from there. So it's like those types of jobs. So with physical labor jobs comes a lot of, you know, it's blue collar, it's low income households. The average median income in 2023 was $46,000 for a household. So it's low.
Yeah.
And this type of population that does these physical jobs and labor, they have a lot of injuries. Mm-hmm. And so because of this, many folks take to using prescription pain medication, and that sometimes leads to the need for street drugs like crack cocaine and heroin and methamphetamine and things like that. So Huntington has actually over the years become a hub for these types of drugs. They're very prevalent. And not necessarily when I lived there, towards the end of when I lived there. So I moved in 2002. And it definitely was an undertone of it, but it's really bad. It has become really bad after that. So, like, I've gone back in recent years and have gone to some of the places that I used to go to when I was like 18, 19 years old in downtown Huntington in the nighttime. And I have gone back to those places and have not felt safe. So it's just a different, it's a sad situation. So because of the high drug addicted population, Huntington got on the radar of the Detroit drug pipeline, which I'm sure you've heard of that. So drug dealers from Detroit, which is like 6 hours away from Huntington, caught wind of the market for like hard street drugs. And what they found was that they could actually get double their money in Huntington for opioids. So like prescription pain pills, heroin, crack, fentanyl, like drugs like that. So the city very quickly was given the nickname of Money Town.
Oh, wow.
To these Detroit dealers because like they'd pay $20 for something in Detroit and go and sell it for $40 in Huntington. So a lot of dealers like sent people to Huntington to like live there and sell their drugs. There are other towns too that this has happened, like Akron, Ohio is really known for being on the pipeline. Macon, Georgia, that's another one. There's actually a documentary that was made. It's called Heroin E. It came out in 2017. It's on Netflix, and it's about the drug culture in Huntington and like how bad it is. I've watched it before, but I watched it again when I was researching this case. It basically follows like a drug court judge and a fire chief who is like trying to equip fire trucks with Narcan to like help save people that are suffering from an overdose. It's hard for me to watch it because I know people that are in it and that are addicts or like recovering addicts and stuff. And it just makes me really sad. But also my sister-in-law is in it because she was a nurse for the health department at the time when they were filming it. And so they actually like interviewed her and she talked about people who would come in for addiction and stuff like that. I love her so much. Shout out. She listens.
Oh, yay.
Yeah. Love you, Chrissy. Okay. It's very well done. It's just sad for me personally, but I'll link it if you're interested to watch it. It's good. It's eye-opening for sure. So I had a very fun experience in Huntington, and it just hurts my heart. You know, I don't want my kids to go to school there unless it drastically changes or whatever. Okay, all that being said, this case is believed to be drug-related, and it is connected to the Detroit drug pipeline.
Okay.
It involves the very tragic deaths of 4 teenagers. So we have Donte Ward, who was 19, Eddrick Clark, who was 18, Michael Dillon, who was 17, and Megan Post, who was only 16. So very young people, most of which were in just the wrong place at the wrong time, which makes it really tragic. So on Saturday, May 21st of 2005, Donte and Eddrick were celebrating their birthdays. So Eddrick's birthday was on May 22nd, the very next day, and Donte's was on May 23rd. So it was like bestie birthday weekend for them.
Mm-hmm.
The other 2 victims were also celebrating because they had prom. So Michael was a student at Huntington High School, which was actually our rival high school, fun fact. And Megan was his date. She's so cute, by the way. So I'm not 100% sure what the connection was between like Donte and Eddrick and Michael and his prom date. But they were friends in some capacity. I mean, I know they like went to school together and stuff like that. So I'm thinking like Donte and Michael went to high school together. So I guess they just knew each other from that or whatever. But anyway, they were together. So Donte and Eddrick hung out to celebrate their birthdays, and Michael and Megan, all dressed up, went to prom. So there was an after prom lock-in at the school that went until 5 a.m. And Michael and Megan told their parents that they were going to stay at the lock-in and hang out for that with their friends. But the next morning, which would be Sunday, May 22nd, Michael never came home from the lock-in. So it's supposed to end at 5, give you some time to take your date home. He never came home. So Michael's parents called the school and learned that he and Megan were never on the registration list for the lock-in.
Oh.
So they not only hadn't gone, but they never planned to go and had not been there. So they were reported missing. Right around the same time, well, before then a little bit, but a couple hours before, some 911 calls had come in from neighbors in an apartment complex on Charleston Avenue in Huntington, which is like a block from where I was born, like the hospital that I was born. The callers reported gunshots and screaming and said that there were several bodies that were not moving in the grass in front of the apartment complex. Neighbors reported hearing 4 to 6 shots and a female voice saying, "Please don't shoot me." One of these, like, ear witnesses was a 12-year-old little girl.
Oh, gosh.
Sadly, all 4 of our victims, so Donte, Eddrick, Michael, and Megan, had been shot to death. 3 of them were pronounced dead at the scene, and 1 was later declared dead at the hospital. Can you imagine, like, sending your kids off to, like, prom? Or, like, they're celebrating their birthdays, and then you get this call? Like, these are children.
Right, yeah.
So all of them suffered close-range gunshot wounds with a 9mm pistol. Shell casings were left at the scene. However, there were no witnesses that saw a shooter or shooters, vehicles, nothing. Like, nobody looked out there. I think it just happened so quickly that they heard the shots, and by the time anyone was like, "What was that? Let me look," it was done, and the people were gone. So Donte, who was the oldest of this group, he lived in the apartment complex where they were shot.
Okay.
So he was home. I mean, they were in the front yard, but, like, he was home. And then these other 3 people just were there. So he was known to be connected to the drug culture in the town. And he was known to, like, possibly buy and sell drugs, and was connected to a local dealer who was from Detroit. Her name was, I'm going to butcher this, Cherylethia Holmes.
Okay.
But she went by Bunny.
Oh.
Bunny Holmes.
I see where she got that from.
Yeah, I don't know where that came from, but anyway. So she was a known heroin and crack dealer in Huntington on the Detroit pipeline. So she came from Detroit, was sent to deal drugs in Huntington. She was notorious for being like the head bee in charge of the drug operation. And Donte is connected to her somehow.
Okay.
So rumors start flying around to law enforcement that Bunny possibly had beef with Donte and that she had put a hit out on him. So investigators' theory was that Donte either stole from Bunny, drugs or money, we don't know, or he started his own drug dealing operation and that made him like competition. And so Bunny ordered him to be killed. And the other three, Eddrick, Michael, and Megan, were like collateral damage because they were just present during this shooting and they were witnesses, and so they just had to kill everybody, which is so so sad.
Yeah.
So investigators also knew that Bunny had connections to the Detroit drug ring, and they thought that the shooters were likely from Detroit and probably just went back to Michigan after the shootings, leaving them basically like untraceable. Like they were just ghosts. And this is 2005. This is like a low-income apartment complex setting. I think Donte lived alone. Like, I don't think he lived with parents. He was 19. There's no cameras. There's no surveillance, ring doorbell, CCTV, none of that. So essentially, the cops had absolutely nothing to work with. They brought 12 people in for questioning, including Bunny and like people that were in her circle. Over half of the people that they brought in were from Detroit. So, like, they are very tightly connecting this to this pipeline. And all of these people were known to be in Bunny's, like, drug ring circle. But after months of investigating, there was just not enough evidence to bring charges against anybody. They don't know who the shooters is. Without them, they can't prove Bunny did or said anything related to these murders. A $50,000 reward was issued for any information, and these parents were just like left to grieve and wonder who slaughtered their children essentially in the front lawn of an apartment complex. In February of 2006, so this happened May 2005, so now we're February 2006, Bunny was arrested for drug and firearms related charges, and she was sentenced to 8 years in prison. During this same time, there was a bit of a break in our case. So the Bunny and two other men were then charged in the shooting death of a 31-year-old woman named Wendy Morgan. So Wendy was a known drug addict, and it was said that she used a room in Bunny's like crack house for sex work.
Oh, okay.
So it didn't say that she lived there with
just
Bunny.
Used
it just
a room.
Right. So in July 2004, so this is almost a year before our teenagers were shot, Wendy was accused of stealing drugs and money from Bunny's home, and witnesses claimed that Bunny ordered Wendy to be killed because of this. So Wendy was found, like a few weeks later, shot to death. She was just, like, found on the street by, like, a passerby, which is so sad. Two men were found arrested and found to have been the shooters. So then they go to trial. In their trial, they both said, Bunny ordered us to kill this woman. Okay. So because of their testimony, Bunny was arrested. So she went on trial in March of 2008, and they had a slew of people testify against her, like talking about all of the drug-related activity. Like everyone rolled on this woman. It was a lot of people. And during the trial, all of them said, not all of them, but a lot of them said, this is not the first or last person that Bunny has ordered a hit on, and they have been killed. Remember those prom night murders with Donte Ward? She ordered a hit out on him, and we heard her do it. It was known that she was the one who did it. So they're like totally rolling on her, not only in this Wendy Morgan murder, but in the one of our victims.
Right. I feel like they have to come in numbers, because somebody with like that much power and like backing people in Detroit, like, you better have everybody rolling.
Right. Yeah. We all got to rob. Yes, there's power in numbers. Yeah. And she's already in jail, remember, because she was arrested for drug charges and sentenced to 8 years. So she's in prison. Mm-hmm. So I think that probably made him feel a little bit safer. I don't know. But she was convicted of the first-degree murder for Wendy Morgan. Mm-hmm. Was first-degree murder before the fact, I think, is what her conviction was. So she was given a life sentence with mercy, meaning she would be eligible for parole after 15 years.
I was talking about that mercy rule with Natalie. So she got it.
Yeah, she got it. But, so she's already serving 8 years for unrelated drug charges. So they did order that they had to be consecutive. So she has to serve that 8 years. And then once that's over, she'll serve at least 15 years to life. So 23 years she will be in prison for sure before she's eligible for parole, which is in 2029.
I was going to say, that's not that long from
now.
No,
and she'll be 52.
Dang.
If she's granted parole. She was only 23 when our four friends were murdered. She's young.
Gosh.
Okay, so let me talk about our victims for a minute now that we know what happened. So Donte Lee Ward, he was the 19-year-old and was known to be the primary target. He was born May 23rd of 1958, killed one day before his birthday. His mom's name was Tina Ward, but I don't have a lot of information about his background or family. There's just not a ton out there, but he is buried in Huntington. Mm-hmm. So his friend, Eddrick Clark, he was 18. He was born May 22nd, 1987, so he was killed on his birthday. Mm-hmm. He was raised in Cincinnati, Ohio by parents Joan Clark and Eddie Jeffers. He is buried in the same cemetery as Donte. Michael Christopher Dillon, he was 17. He was born November 12th of 1987 to parents Gary and Teresa Dillon. It was said that he was a member of Abundant Life Baptist Church and he played football for Huntington High School. He was younger than me, but had he not been, I definitely probably would have crossed paths with him. Mm-hmm. He had a brother Jeremy and a sister Jennifer. Megan Brooke Post, who was 16, she was Michael's prom date, was born August 30th of 1988 to parents Kenneth and Sabrina Post. She had two sisters, Stephanie and Jordan, and a brother, Casey. And she is actually buried in the same cemetery as my grandma.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that crazy? I know. I saw the name of it and was like, oh, I know that one really well. So every year on the day of the murders, which is May 22nd, the families in the city of Huntington hold a Day of Hope, which remembers the lives of these young people, their unsolved murder, and it also serves to bring awareness to fight the drug battle in the area, which I think is really nice. Bunny admits that she ran a crack cocaine house and dealt illegal drugs, but she denies having anything to do with the teenager's murder or the murder of Wendy Morgan. Mm-hmm. So she completely is I don't know why they were killed. I had nothing to do with it, but I sold drugs. The $50,000 reward for information still stands, and the family is still fighting for justice for those that actually pulled the trigger and killed their children. But they are, glad that Bunny, who was, they believe, the mastermind behind all of it, is behind bars and can't, harm other people. And they attended the trial, Bunny's trial for Wendy. So, all of the families are friends.
Right.
And, support each other. And I think that's really nice.
So if everybody, well, not everybody, but if a majority of people said that she was a part of that, then how come she didn't go to trial for that?
Well, they couldn't prove it because they don't know who the shooters are. So there was nobody to...
Oh, it was the shooters who rolled on her for Wendy's. So they had
Wendy's.
Those. Yes. Right. Okay.
Yeah, so they were able to convict her of that because they had all of this testimony saying, yes, she told these people to do it. Here's the proof, whatever.
None of those people know who a possible shooter could have been for
No, and they don't
teens.
think... So the people that killed Wendy, the two men, there's two men, I have their name somewhere. it's irrelevant to our case. But those two men were from Detroit, and they were convicted of shooting Wendy at Bunny's order, but they don't think they were the same people that killed our 4 guys.
Okay.
So police in the area say, so it's 20 years now, May of 2025 will be a 20-year-old murder. They said that they can't exactly classify their murders as a cold case because they know what in general happened, but they don't have enough evidence to like bring charges against anyone, and they don't have any suspects on like who the actual shooters are. Because her ring was just so big, and they just think they were from Detroit, and they were 2 random guys that she calls her people in Detroit, hey, send these 2 guys to kill this kid. It's just really sad.
Yeah. And I get why you don't like the title prom, because it was just
only 2 of them went to prom, and it was not related to prom. Like West Virginia, so it's called the West Virginia Prom Night Murders. Like, if you look that up, it's everywhere. That's what the media has called it. But it's not. It's the Huntington Murders. It's just these children. Yeah, it's not related to prom. So I don't like that name.
Yeah. Yeah. It's weird.
Yeah, I just think that's, like, sensationalizing it, and it's not even accurate. So, whatever.
Yeah, they picked one aspect of part of it.
Like, yeah, it's super sad that they were leaving prom and went to, like, you know, go see Donte and were murdered. It's just a coincidence, though. It has nothing to do with what actually happened. It's Bunny. That's what had to do with what happened. Bunny Holmes. I tell you, I'm gonna send you her name. It's Sherry. I can't even pretend. Cherylethia. It's like 19 letters long.
Okay.
Anyway. So it's a terrible case. So many people have recommended this case to me over the years. And there you have it.
I mean, it's interesting that so many people, except for the fact that it's Huntington, like, I'm just like, it's not like it's this huge thing that you can find a ton of information on. Like, it's
you can't, actually.
These 4 kids were killed, and we think it was a drug dealer, basically.
Yeah. But it's just so sad to me that, you know, like, that's my town. You know, like, it's just sad. I know so many people who have fallen victim to the drug culture that's in the area. I mean, I went to a really big high school, so, like, statistically, it's probably still more than it should. You know, like, more than the norm. Just because they stayed there and got stuck. Right. It makes me sad. And when I watched that documentary, I was like, my gosh.
How big is your high school if you're, like, from this, like, smaller area?
My high school was freaking humongous. So I'm from the era, well, I don't know if this happened in where you lived, but there was, like, a trend where they would take a bunch of small high schools and consolidate them all into one.
We didn't have small high schools where I was. So.
Oh, well, true. So we had, like, well, okay, not small, normal-sized high schools. So I think my high school was a combination of, like, 4 high schools. All smashed in together. My graduating class was like 800 people.
Okay. Yeah. See, mine was like 400, but
double. So I guess mine was double the size then, essentially. Yeah,
there were definitely private school, so I don't even know what the public school was.
Oh, yeah, no, mine was a public school, but
yeah.
And my high school was the rival high school for where these kids went.
Okay.
Like, because there were only 2 in this big area, because they consolidated 4 and 4, or however many it was. And so there was just, like, 2 giant high schools with huge programs for, like, athletics and stuff like that. And we only had each other to, like, compete against, essentially.
Right. Yeah.
So we were definitely local rivals. But the high schools were, like, 35 minutes apart.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
Wow. Well, that's just sad.
It's so sad.
That there's like no, I mean, I know that she's in jail, but there's like no real justice for those 4.
No, because they don't know who
teens.
the shooters are.
Yeah.
I'm glad they got justice in the other case, in Wendy's case, because I just think, and I did want to say, I was listening to an interview from a police detective I think the lead detective on this case, or no, on Wendy's case. It was a lead detective on Wendy's case. And he was saying, like, we really want the fact that we not only convicted these shooters, but convicted the person who ordered the hit to be a message to our area that every citizen matters.
Okay.
And, like, just because they are involved in drugs or involved in sex work or, like, going down a wrong path, we don't care. You can't murder about it.
Yeah.
I know it's coming back. We really have to put it on a shirt.
Don't murder about it.
Can't murder about it.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to find you. We're not going to just ignore, which I liked. I thought that was really, like, you know, because so many of our cases, it's like, well, they didn't investigate it because it's like, well, this person was involved in drugs and maybe their life mattered less or whatever. And this guy was like, no, everyone matters. We're not going to sleep on you. We're coming.
Well, good.
You can't kill our citizens.
Good. I'm glad.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay. Well, cool. Well, thanks for diving into that one. That was, I mean, I guess not. I mean, you dove, but like you didn't have a whole lot that you could pull out.
I didn't. And I'm going to link every source that I can, but I had to do a subscription to the local newspaper to get so much of this information. So you're not going to be able to like click a link and, you know.
Yeah. Well, that's like that newspapers.com that we use. Like usually I'm just like newspaper.com because and I don't put the actual link because you can't see it unless you're a member or whatever. So,
right.
Yeah. Anyway. Okay. Well, thanks. And thanks for all the people who sent it to you that thought that it would be worthy of just getting some exposure.
Yeah, that's what I think too. So, and I hope Huntington I think they're working on reforming as best they can. But if you want to see how not reformed it is in 2017, you can go watch that documentary and you can see my sister.
Oh, yeah, I know. That's the only reason I want to watch it now. No, not the only reason.
She's in like 2 minutes of it, to be fair.
Right. But still.
She's fantastic. She's like got the biggest heart ever. I messaged her and was like, I watched your documentary again. Yeah.
It's funny. Well, that's a wrap for...
It's a wrap for me.
An individual. No more, a wrap for me last time. So, like, we just need to... do our last one, which we don't know what we're doing yet, but
I know you guys have to help us with that for real.
I mean, they haven't so far, so come on.
Well, so one person said an episode with your hubbies. I think somebody said something like, gosh, there was like 4 or 5 responses. It was like an update on all the cases that you've done, which I just feel like that would be
That's too much, I think.
Yeah. It would be like 9 hours long because we've done 7,000 cases over the last 5 years.
I mean, obviously, like, there wouldn't be an update for all of them. There would probably be updates for, like, unsolved ones, possibly, or whatever. Like, you know.
Or ones that were waiting to go to trial.
Right.
Or appeals.
Which, gosh, I would have to go back and even...
I know.
Remember which ones those were. But anyways.
Yeah. So anyway, we had a couple, but we really need to know, like, is there a theme that you want us to do? Do you just want to ask us questions? Do you want to, like, what?
Yeah, because we also have to start planning for it. You know, if that's the case, we need to, like, get the questions in, or if we're going to do 2 smaller cases or something, we need to start researching. We need to like nail that down probably like this week.
I know. And if we don't get a bunch of suggestions or like things that are doable, let's just do what we want.
Yeah.
We'll just pick something, which is fine if that's what you guys want. But we just wanted you to weigh in.
Yeah. Yeah. So this week, let us know.
Yeah.
Anything so that we can start figuring it out.
Yeah. Send us an email. Send us a message on Facebook or Instagram, or comment on a post or story or whatever, and let us know, and we'll just write it all down and go from there.
But can I spoiler alert the next one?
Yeah.
Or can we spoil it? You are getting a hubby episode. The next episode will be a hubby. So 2 weeks from now, it's going to be a hubby episode. So that one is happening.
Wes and Emery are back on the mic.
Don't give us that suggestion.
Yeah.
Somebody already did, and we're doing it. So,
well, because our husbands were like, yeah.
Yeah, I know.
We're so excited.
I'm pretty sure, actually, Emery's words were, I'm pretty sure the people are going to want another hubby episode, so we should give it to them.
I love that. Well, they did.
I was like, I'm not going to tell you that they requested it. No, I'm just kidding. I did. I told them.
Yeah, we're actually recording it in just a few days, and I'm really excited. Those are always like the funnest nights. I feel like we just have such a good time. So that's coming.
It'll be good.
But then we still have that little last baby,
The very last one for the anniversary edition.
Yeah.
So
anniversary / farewell. Oh, yes. We're doing fine.
We may have to do that. All right, we'll talk about this offline. Anyway, thanks for joining us. Let us know what you want to hear for the very last episode. Join us in 2 weeks for our hubby episode. And thanks for all the love over the last few weeks since we've been announcing that we're leaving and whatnot. So we appreciate you all, and we'll miss it, and then we'll never forget it. So anyways.
Absolutely. And I'll update. Go to social media for proof of life.
Yes.
That there's no one living in my
There's
crawl
no
space.
homeless person living underneath Beth's house. So, okay. Keep hiding in your closet, girl. All right. Always remember, the world is scary. People suck, especially if they're hiding under your house.
They do suck. Scary.
Hide in your closet.